It is 9/11, and this is the first time I'm trying to do a very brief live stream, going direct to YouTube using YouTube's app on the phone. I wasn't planning to do anything today. 9/11 to me is a day of remembrance, not usually of anything related to what I normally do here, guns and optics and things like that. But today is a little bit different in that Charlie Kirk was murdered yesterday, the day before 9/11. We don't know if that was intentional or not. And for me, it's a normal work day, and I was having a little bit of a hard time focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing. So I figured I'm gonna transition to the kitchen. That's where I am. Have a cup of coffee, which is exactly what I'm doing, and share a couple of thoughts. Simply because I think there are a couple of things a lot of people are missing. So let's talk a little bit about the anniversary of 9/11, and then let's spend a couple of minutes on the late and missed Charlie Kirk. So today is 24 years since 9/11 happened. And the number 24 is very interesting because that means that the kids who were born in 2001 are now 24 years old. So a lot of them went to college, and now they're a couple of years out of college. And the number is strangely coincidental. I was looking at the statistics of American public opinion on the war between Israel and Hamas. And it was divided by age groups, and virtually all age groups were either slightly or strongly leaning toward Israel for a variety of obvious reasons. You can't figure out who the good guys are in this conflict. You've got some issues with your moral compass. The older you were, the more pro-Israel you were, partly because you have some life experience and certain things are not theoretical. I'm pushing 50 and 49, so I remember 9/11 very, very well. I was out of college. I was working in my first startup. It was kind of a memorable thing, not something you forget very easily. The one interesting aberration from this study on who Americans support, Hamas or Israel, was the age group of 18 to 24. So the 18 to 24 people are the ones who were all born after 9/11 here. And the age group of 18 to 24 is fairly heavily pro-Hamas, 60 to 40, which I find both surprising and remarkable. These are the people people who were not there for 9/11, don't remember any of 9/11. Their entire existence is in the post 9/11 world. And they completely forgot who conducted 9/11. They seem to somehow be thoroughly convinced that all of the world's problems are a direct consequence of American or Israeli action. Nobody else has any sort of agency in what they do. And they open the route for a group of murderous, raping, child abusing, torturing terrorists over a civilized nation. Whether it is a rebirth of general purpose anti-Semitism, or whether this is just a side effect of the incredible Marxist corruption of the American educational system, is hard to say at this point. All we know is that this is abhorrent. One of the other telling things is that in America, in a group of 18 to 24, that age group, it appears that the support for Hamas went up after they showed videos of barely alive, emaciated, tortured Jewish prisoners. Both in the Arab world and among the young people in America, the support for Hamas went up after they broadcast their cruelty to the world. It's a remarkable thing. I remember 9/11 vividly. I remember who attacked us. I'm unlikely to forget it. I hope you won't as well. The day before 9/11, well, the day before anniversary of 9/11, yesterday, a conservative personality, commentator, Charlie Kirk, was murdered. He was doing his usual speaking engagement, this time in Utah at the Utah Valley University, something like that. I'm not 100% sure what the university is. I haven't heard of it until yesterday. We know that Charlie Kirk basically made his notoriety and his popularity based on going on college campuses and talking to people who disagree with him. He would go and set up the stand that says, "Prove me wrong," and just sit down and talk to anybody who wants to talk to him, which is incredibly commendable. You can agree with Charlie Kirk or disagree with Charlie Kirk. I largely on a lot of things agreed with him, not on everything, right? So, I'm also on the right. I am a fairly ideological conservative. I just happen to not be especially religious, so I had some areas of disagreement with Charlie and some areas, probably more areas of agreement. One of the things that Charlie did that was very interesting is that most of the different influencers, online personalities, and others that you see, they get out in the world and they're out to become famous and make money. They usually aren't there for any particular convictions. It's not a popular thing to say. But what they do, they look around, they find some sort of an audience, and then they adjust their messaging, and often they adjust their ideas to match the audience that they found. That's one of the reasons why you see public personalities occasionally shift their views 180%. It's comfortable to think that it's just mental illness, like Candace Owens. But if you look at Candace, Tucker Carlson, and a bunch of these, they found how powerful this Groyper new alt-right, crazy right audience is, and just completely modified their messaging to fit their audience. That's how they make their money. That's how they make their notoriety. Are they funded by Qatar? Entirely possible. Who knows? I'm not there looking at them sign checks. Don't usually care. The point is that they will say and do anything to fit their audience. That's how we end up with all of these echo chambers, right? There are echo chambers on the left, there are echo chambers on the right. I am a conservative who has spent most of his life living in blue states. I lived in California, but for many years now I live in New Mexico. I know exactly how echo chambers work on both sides of it. Charlie Kirk did something entirely different. Charlie Kirk had his ideas and his convictions, and he took them to the world. He didn't mold them to an audience. He believed that there are young people out there who need to hear his message. And he delivered it. Politely, kindly, respectfully, and in a civilized manner. He didn't adapt himself to the audience. He forged his audience out of nothing. He took his message to the world, and the world adapted itself to Charlie Kirk's message. I think that is incredibly commendable. My original plan was to not talk about Charlie Kirk's murder until more information is available about the identity and motivation of the assassin. But having looked a little bit online, I thought that it is worthwhile to comment on a couple of things. I'll do a follow-up once we know more. So first of all, we don't know who exactly murdered Charlie Kirk. There are quite a few options. The overwhelming opinion online is that it was some left-wing activist, crazy person, maybe not so crazy person, it's very hard to say, who murdered Charlie Kirk, and it is probably the most plausible theory because if you look at the whole history of Charlie Kirk's public life, he was constantly under threat, and the left-wing students, activists, etc., were, for the most part, not hugely interested in talking to Charlie Kirk. They were mostly trying to shut him up. For example, even for this speaking engagement in Utah, if memory serves me right, about 1,000 students and faculty from the university where he was speaking signed a petition to to prevent Charlie Kirk from speaking. Not didn't want to have an argument with him, just wanted to shut him up. And I think even more, I saw a number of 7,000, but I did not try to verify it. Even more students and faculty from the Utah State University, another institution there, about 7,000 also signed a similar petition. Well, chances are the same crowd finally found a way to shut Charlie up permanently, which is tragic. And thoroughly un-American, America exists based on an free exchange of ideas. That's why we have the Second Amendment. If you don't want to talk to someone, don't talk to him. If you think their ideas are not worthwhile, have an argument with him, show your point of view, engage in a debate, engage in a discussion, argue the merit of your ideas against theirs. The most un-American thing and the most Marxist thing is to go and shut up the competition. That's how communists came to power in the Soviet Union. That's why in the Soviet Union, the even idea of having more than one party was anathema. People would go to life imprisonment for just saying this. And for 70 years, the whole country was supposed to be united behind one idea, having more than one idea, was anathema to left-wing thinking. Well, the whole corruption of our educational system is to a significant degree driven by a regional infiltration of our academia in the 60s and 70s by Marxist thought imported from the Soviet Union. And here we are. A couple of other things to keep in mind. One of the very jarring things, not as jarring as for many Americans, for me, was how many people on the far left are up on social media openly celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It is not unexpected because I saw this same effect after October 7th in Israel, when the hard left in America was openly celebrating the murder of the Jews. They were accusing Israel of all mortal sins before Israel even retaliated. Well, it is the same crowd that is now celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. There is not all of people celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder are yelling Free Palestine, but just about all Free Palestine people are celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. Near 100% correlation. What is equally interesting is that the people who are on this allegedly somewhat more moderate left, while they are not celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, they're very busy explaining how Charlie brought this upon himself, how he was divisive, argumentative, etc. And it's all too obvious that eventually somebody would kill him for that, right? With the message being, don't argue with us or you're going to die. I'm not super excited about that message, to put it mildly. And on the right, it's troubling, troubling in a different way, because one of the things you don't want to see is a civil war. You do not want to see retribution. You do not want to see left-wing speakers targeted. We on the right have to find it in ourselves, despite the tragedy of Charlie Kirk's murder. We have to find it in ourselves to take the high road. It's not easy. It's not obvious how to do it. But we have to do it because the alternative is civil war. And you do not want a kinetic civil war. we can maybe survive a civil war of ideas as a nation. Surviving a kinetic civil war would be something else entirely. We'll keep monitoring. I'll keep monitoring and see what happens. A bunch of hard left firebrands like Cenk Uygur and the rest of the morons, all shedding crocodile tears and talking about unity and all that. Yeah, I think it'll last 24 to 48 hours, and then I'll go back to the usual madness and incitement. It is what it is. That's the world we live in. But on our side, we have to take the high road. I'll finish this. I do have to work at some point. I'll finish this by semi-practical considerations, because one of the things I hear from people who do not understand the subject matter is that, oh, it must, whoever killed Charlie Kirk must be a trained assassin because of how they got there, how they got out there, the shot they took, that it has to be a state sponsor, etc. People watch too many spy movies. So I saw somewhere, oh, it was a guy all in black with black glasses, must be a trained sniper. Oh, that's so much nonsense. The shot was taken, apparently, from a rooftop about ballpark 200 yards away. It looks like the shot was taken prone. Earlier this morning, the officials in Utah announced that they were able to track the movement of the assassin. The assassin is not yet caught, but there's a pretty good chance the assassin will be caught. With any sort of a semi-decent rifle, whether the AR-15 or a hunting rifle, or just about any relatively normal rifle, if you have a fairly steady position, 200-yard shot is not difficult. You don't have to be highly trained to take a 200-yard shot from a steady shooting position at a man-sized target. That is the simple truth of it. The reason why we like to think that it was a trained sniper, trained assassin, is that it is a very discomforting thought how potentially easy it is to assassinate a public figure from what seems like a good distance. They say 2 football fields is very, very far away. Yeah, from a shooting standpoint. Yeah, for a rifle, it's not far away at all. Those of us who do train a little bit, from 200 yards, wind is not a very big deal yet. Trajectory is well known. I don't know, my hunting rifle from 200 yards, prone, I can hit a 2-inch circle 9 times out of 10, assuming that on the 10th shot I'm gonna sneeze and pull it. 10 out of 10 if I'm not distracted. It's not hard. And man-sized target is much bigger than that. So I would be very careful here making too many conclusions based on the very scant data that we know. Is it possible that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by some third party in order to sow division and distrust in the United States between the left and the right? Yeah, it's possible. It would be in Muslim Brotherhood's interest. Charlie was a conservative Christian who said all sorts of things to say about modern political Islam, Islamism, and Muslim Brotherhood. Would it be in Iran's interest? Yeah. Would it be in Russia's interest? Yeah. Would it be in China's interest? Yeah. Does it mean any one of them did it? Not necessarily. We simply do not know. Chances are it is some homegrown leftist who wanted to shut Charlie Kirk up permanently and did. It's not a 100% guarantee. Hopefully we will know. But I would not succumb to conspiracy theories too much. I don't think it is worth your while. The more important thing to consider is how we can take the high road, move forward with grace and conviction, and make sure that Charlie Kirk's legacy and Charlie Kirk's ideas and ideals live on and spread the way Charlie Kirk would have wanted it. All right. Thank you all for sticking with me. That's my 24th anniversary of 9/11 message. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. By all accounts, you were a good man. We will all miss you, but not nearly as much as your wife and two small children will.